brought to you by Squarespace. This is the A-10 on steroids. With 2 Gatling cannons, 4,000 kilos of bombs, and stealth characteristics, this close combat aircraft is possibly the most overkill 90s jet ever designed. But it wasn't American or Russian, but unexpectedly Polish. And why on earth did they see the A-10 and go, we can do better? Meet the Scorpion. When you think of aerospace titans at the end of the Cold War, Poland would be pretty far down your list. But the former Polish Commonwealth state is full of surprises, and chasing after its own fighter jet when regaining its independence from the USSR at the end of the Cold War was one of them. The project's origin started with research done by British Aerospace, or BAE, on jets that featured the ability to have short takeoffs and landings on any terrain, dubbed the Small Agile Battlefield Aircraft. A fighter plane that would fill the role of close combat operations, much like the A-10 does today. The Polish, who are now looking to expand their now independent air force, thought, why not make the aircraft themselves? So they put together a contest and invited local firms to apply. Our hero of the story, PZL Warszawa Okerche, I probably really butchered that name, initially came up with a pretty unique pusher turboprop design. It would have the ability to take off and land from 250-meter rough runways, fly as fast as 640 kilometers per hour, and drop up to 2,000 kilograms worth of bombs. Oh, and it would also have a 25mm cannon too for direct strikes. Best of all, it would be cheap, modular, and easy to construct, using much of the tech from the previous PZL-130 and hence its codename the PZL-230. 2 versions were proposed, an attack version and a trainer. Going up against them was another Polish aircraft called the PZL Cobra, with a pretty unique dorsal engine intake. This plane could carry twice as much weapons and fly twice as fast, but it was deemed too expensive. But that double capacity wasn't lost to the Air Force, who in turn gave the contract to the Scorpion but doubled the requirements, faster, heavier, and far more deadly, essentially creating the Polish A-10. The Scorpion was to be a game changer for the Polish military, just like a Squarespace website is for today's business, and that's right, they're today's video sponsor. But before you touch that dial, check out a sneak peek of our next episode. That's right, if you need a new website, then Squarespace is the best website builder. They have plenty of great templates, or you can have a go building your own design with their powerful code-free builder. They have built-in e-commerce tech to add products and start selling an online store, in-built email campaign marketing that's very easy to use, and their sites are already optimized for mobile phones, so you don't have to make a second version. Plus, when you click that link, you're actually supporting the channel by helping fund the animations and videos that you love so much. So it's win-win. So you're thinking, Nick, this sounds like a fantastic deal. To get it, go to www.squarespace.com/found. I'll throw in 10% off your first site and domain. Be a supporter of the channel and click that link. Back to the show. Under the cracking whip of the Polish Ministry of Defense in 1991, the team of engineers got to work redesigning the Scorpion to meet these new extreme requirements. This new plane had to fly twice as fast, up to 1,000 kilometers an hour, have a combat range of 300 kilometers, and a service ceiling of up to 12,000 meters, which is 39,000 feet for my American viewers. But it couldn't sacrifice its short takeoff and landings ability, keeping that limited to under 300 meters of runway. It would also be twice as heavy, carrying up to 4,000 kilos of NATO ordnance. So in order to do this, the prop engines were gone. The engineers at the time deemed that they wouldn't provide enough power to carry this new big chungus, and thus they replaced the prop engines with jet engines of Pratt & Whitney, specifically the PW305 turbofan. The military also got obsessed with a new hotness, namely stealth aircraft. They asked, why not make this a stealth plane just like the Americans? And thus the Scorpion was given a black paint job, internal components, and engines mounted inside the wing, and a lower radar cross-section. Plus, whilst they were at it, they also threw in the latest early 19s computers, fly-by-wire controls, and even yaw control for the onboard cannon, meaning you didn't even have to aim with the nose. Oh, did I mention that not only did the Scorpion have a 25mm cannon internally, but externally it could carry a 30mm GAU-8 Avenger. Yes, the same as the A-10. With the mock-up made, this impressive aircraft had equally impressive stats. It could perform a 180 turn within 5 seconds and be flown at an angle of attack of up to 50 degrees. Even more impressive if you consider the firm building it had only experience with farming equipment and light turboprops. But that didn't stop the world taking notice, not only winning contracts on the home front, but those outside the country such as Britain, Spain and Israel were interested in purchasing a few Scorpions of their own. So what the heck happened? Why don't we have fleets of this monster plane flying everywhere, especially right now in the conflict in Ukraine? Now, there were some flaws with the design. First, it was discovered later that the engines chosen for the aircraft, the PW305 turbofans, wouldn't have been powerful enough either. So in turn, they were swapped out for Honeywell LF507s, no longer fitting in the fuselage and giving it a V-shaped tail. Also, this whole obsession with stealth was rather silly, and I absolutely bet that some people have already written a comment about the stealth principles before I got to this part. Not only would it have a terrible radar cross-section when it was fully armed, its mission profile wouldn't even need stealth features. If this plane was flying at a low altitude, below 10,000 feet at a slow speed, it was hardly a situation that stealth would make a difference. The cost of the program was also beyond optimistic. The manufacturer was claiming at the time that it would have cost around 11,500 billion zlotys, which is 65 million US, to develop this plane, which is bonkers as we know today planes cost billions to design. There was also the issue of where to build it. As we mentioned at the intro of this video, Poland wasn't that well known of a military aircraft technology superpower, unlike the US, and this aircraft was going to be made up of less than 70% locally sourced components. And because of its stealth profile, 50% of the plane would also need to be carbon fiber, something Poland at the time wasn't producing in bulk. This last point was the speck of dust in the machine of progress that caused the friction and eventual freezing of the program. Politicians were divided on whether or not it was wise to rely so heavily on foreign firms like US and Britain to provide these parts, instead of just buying a fully foreign-made aircraft. And also those other firms that lost the contract to the Scorpion, they thought it would be sneakier to try and get the program cancelled rather than sign up to the Scorpion parts program. With the election of a left-leaning government in 1994, the military was now under pressure to cancel the program. Speaking at the time, Brigadier General Henryk Mika, director of the Ministry of Defense Military Procurement Program, stated that no further work would be done on the program and that it made little sense to start on a new clean sheet when an existing design could be developed to meet the Polish Air Force requirements. For some, it was simply cheaper to buy American than make it themselves. Thus, the funding was pulled, and despite the best efforts by PZL to keep it going, by December they shut down the design and moved on, leaving us in a Scorpion-less world. Now, I'd like to have a little chat on what could have been. If this aircraft had been built, while it would have been overkill for its role, it would have opened up a whole new Polish aerospace market. Many countries around the world would have loved a third-party nation to buy reliable aircraft from, one that was not so much aligned with the US or Russia. Asia and Africa would have been easy markets to sell to, and we would have seen it get extensive use in the Middle East. In my personal opinion, I think that this aircraft like these are refreshing and really expand what we could have had in the world of aviation, and the fact that it wasn't built really does want me to put an F in chat. But maybe it's only because this bad boy had 2 Gatling cannons. Brrr. Thanks so much for watching me, and I hope you enjoyed these extra videos throughout December and January. If you have any other video ideas, put them down below and I'll try to reply to every comment. Thanks for watching, gang.